a book. I know, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, all jokes aside, I'm pretty proud of myself. I read a book. Um, and I can't really remember the last time I read a book. Okay, that is a lie. The last time I read a book was this book. It's called Traditional Astrology for Today, an Introduction by Benjamin Dykes. Really good book, actually, if you know a little bit about astrology or like want to really like get into it, yeah. But this was over a year ago. And before that, I literally cannot tell you the last time I read a book. So, yeah, that's kind of tragic. But the book I'm talking about now, um, I started it just over a month ago, and I just finished it the other day. It's called All God's Children Are Lost, but only a few can play the piano. The subtitle reads, Finding a Life That Is Truly Your Own by Sheldon Kopp. And it says he's the author of If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him. I haven't read that book. People say it's a little bit better than this book. But yeah, so I read a book. It's a self-help psychology book. The author is a psychotherapist, and so he talks about how he got diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. Like they didn't expect him to live. He did, actually. But he had to cope with facing his own death, and that sort of, I guess, gave him a new perspective on life. And so the book it's sort of like, it kind of reiterates the same thing over and over again. But what it's trying to get across is that in order to be yourself and be happy with yourself, you have to accept yourself for all that you are. All of the weird things, all of the bad things. Because if you don't, you'll never be able to, bring out the best in yourself. And so I just wanted to go through some of the things I wrote down while I was reading this book. It's not like a book review, but yeah, I just want to share my thoughts on the book. So, I started reading this book on February 24th. Today is the 1st of April. Happy April Fool's Day. So this was over a month ago that I started reading it. And it's a small book. It's, I think, 117 like full pages. And then there's a couple more pages with just some like quotes, I guess. Some of them were in the book, but I think some of them are just additional ones. But anyways, yeah, it's a small book, so it's not really that much of an accomplishment. But like I said, I haven't been reading books. And it's really sad because I think reading is an incredible thing. It's like we're looking at symbols on a page and we're like hallucinating and like imagining all these different things, and like it gets us to think about things, and we really like expand the way we think, right? And so I want to do it more often. And so I'm just making this to like remind myself that I can, because I did. I read a book. I read a book. Okay. So I wrote full moon. It was the full moon in Virgo. Was the first day that I started reading this book. All God's children are lost. So I wrote, before I even read any of the book, which is crazy, because what I said kind of relates to one of the first things he talks about in the book. So I wrote, I care way too much about what others think of me, to the point where I don't even know what I think of myself. And then, lo and behold, on page 6, he writes, when we avoid revealing our true selves to others, we fake our image in ways that may fool ourselves as well. And I just thought that was crazy. Like, that's literally what I said. I don't even know what I think of myself. I'm fooling myself because I'm faking my image. I'm faking who I am to other people. And I don't know, I just thought that was like a crazy coincidence. Okay, where else did I write something about this book? Let's see. Okay, so this was on March 12th. Good morning, happy Tuesday, happy Mars Day, let's do something. A crow just flew by. The sun is nice today. I'm starting chapter 2 of All God's Children. And then the next thing I wrote was, I just finished the chapter. In summary, the message is to find happiness and fulfillment in yourself, you have to stop trying to live up to expectations others have for you and put more emphasis on your own expectations and your desires for yourself. For a while, I've been avoiding going after things because I fear being alone. I fear that I'm not good enough and that I need the company or approval of someone close to me in order to validate my worth. I said, that is a silly notion. All it shows is that I'm not confident or proud of who I am. I don't believe in myself. And if I don't believe in myself, who the hell will? On page 25, becoming the best person we can be requires that we accept the worst in us as well. I'll never be who I want to be if I can't accept who I am currently. Okay, where did I write about it next? Okay, but I just want to say that's so true. Like, I know we all want to be the best versions of ourselves, but I really struggle with doing anything because I always feel like it's never going to be good enough because I'm not where I want to be right now. I'm I don't know, I feel this sense of shame that I don't know, it's almost, it discourages me from trying because I feel like I can't accept who I am or who I am. So yeah, I have to be able to accept who I am in order to become who I want to be. Okay, moving on. Page 43. Transformations require that we let go of familiar ways of doing things without yet knowing what we will do next. And so this reminded me of a lyric from one of my favorite songs by Miley Cyrus called One Sun. And the lyric says, "What's in front of me, I don't know. I can't see what hasn't started to grow." It's so true. If something hasn't started to grow, you can't see it. You don't know what it will become. So we have to be able to, do it anyways, even without knowing what will come of it. Learn how to trust. Have faith, especially when it doesn't make sense to. This is just something that I wrote. Okay, I also wrote, I am capable of changing for the better. I'll never be perfect, and that's okay. I need to stop letting my drawbacks distract me from my strengths. The sun feels so nice. About to read chapter 5 of All God's Children, but I might just lay in the sun for a second. I'm pretty sure I did just lay in the sun. Okay, let's see. I'm scared to live my life, and I refuse any help. How do I expect to get better? That's so true. I've not been well for a while now. I don't know, mental illness, struggles. But I've sort of been defeated and scared and letting fear sort of control my life. And so I'm asking myself, how do I expect to get better if I won't, let anybody help me or even try to help myself? I can't just, I don't know, expect things to change without trying, Anyways, let's see, what else? the next thing I wrote from the book is page 96. The spirit transcends our worldly experiences, while the soul transforms whatever is human into all that is holy. And so I wrote, this is the sun versus the moon. And so I love astrology. I think it's so cool. I just mentioned a fucking astrology book. It's a language. It's a language of the stars, right? And so obviously, certain things in astrology represent certain things in life, as above, so below. And so I always like to say that the sun is spirit. The sun is God, right? It's everything. Energy, right? It's the thing that exists within all of us, but connects everything and everyone. Like all plants need the sun, all animals need sunlight. Like we need the sun for energy. It's the lifeline, right? It's the sun is spirit. It's everything. And the moon, I like to say, represents our soul. The moon isn't constant. The sun always shines, right? The moon, however, is sometimes it's reflecting none of the sun's light, and sometimes it's reflecting its whole surface worth of the sun's light, right? And the moon's always changing. So I like to say the moon represents our soul's journey, because to live is to change, right? To be alive is to, change. Some days you're going to have high energy, some days you're going to be low energy. Some days you're going to be happy, and some days you're going to be sad. And things just go in cycles. It never ends, right? So the sun reminds us that life is constant, right? Every day there's going to be the sun will come up, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed. I really don't want to see a day where there's no sun. But the moon reminds us of the reality of our human experience, that we're not always going to be like the sun. We're not God. We're not always going to be the same. We're not always going to have the same amount of energy. We're not always going to be on our A game, right? And we have to be okay with that. Like, the moon doesn't just stop going through its cycle just because, it gets down to where it has no energy. It just slowly increases until it reaches its peak, and then it slowly decreases. So, it's all a cycle. Anyways, that's my astrology rant. I got to chapter 10. I need a quick break to soak up the sun. I love the sun. Okay. Page 105. Oh, this quote, I really like this quote. We must know what we feel, say what we mean, and do what we say. Can't really go wrong with that, right? If you know how you feel, you won't ever be misrepresenting, right? If you say what you mean, you won't ever be lying, right? And if you do what you say, you are practicing what you preach, right? And you're a man of your word, or a woman of your word, or a person of your word. You're of your word, right? And I think that's something I hope a lot of people aspire to be, is someone who sticks to their word. Okay. And this is where I wrote the most. Let me just read it to you. I'm about to read the last chapter. It's called Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven, but Nobody Wants to Die. I remember writing one time, I'm afraid it's not going to be easy. The best things in life, the things that will really change you into who you want to be, are not going to be simple, and you will definitely not be comfortable. I haven't been willing to spend time being uncomfortable, because I wasn't sure if the rewards are worth it. I think this mindset is pretty widespread in society, specifically like the United States. It's why this country has yet to see a revolution. Most people in the United States are okay with turning a blind eye to the everyday atrocities affecting primarily Black and brown and indigenous people, because it guarantees the white majority's comfort. Personally, I'm reaching a point where my shame outweighs my desire for comfort. I hate how complacent I've become, and I'm starting to try a little harder. I get that we'll never be perfect, but we can be a whole lot better. Okay, I'm off to finish the book. And then I did. And then I don't think I really didn't even like the last chapter. It didn't do that good of a job of like summarizing the theme of the book as a whole. And then I don't think I wrote anything really about that chapter. But I took one of the quotes from the epilogue, which is, "Whatever we are undertaking at the moment is the most important thing that we can do." And I wrote, "We're always told to live in the moment, but we're never really told why. I think it's because the current moment is all we have. It's all we experience, and the only way we have power to change. Fretting about the past only causes pain. Pain we cannot change. Worrying about the future only distracts us from what we are capable of now." Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Okay, do I recommend this book? I mean, yeah, it's fine. I don't think it's as helpful as it could have been. Because when I finished this book, I understood the concept, right? Like the idea that like you have to, be okay with the worst of yourself. You have to not care about what other people expect of you. Like a lot of these things I understood, but it didn't really give like tips or practices or things, in order to incorporate in your life, in order to like embody these ideas. And so that's what I felt was kind of lacking. It was still a good read. I enjoyed it. But I might read his other book, If You Meet the Buddha, Kill Him, because I checked like reviews of this book and also reviews of that book, and that book seems to be more popular. But anyways, yeah, I read a book, and I'm gonna read another one. I don't know. Look at how many fucking books I have right here. Ooh, a fuck ton. I've got a lot of like, oh shit, got tarot books, astrology books, witchcraft books. I have some fiction. I have this book I started called Everything is Fucked. Never finished that. I have a lot of books, so I just need to pick one and read it. I'm gonna try to maybe pick one that's a little bit longer, and see if I can, finish it. I mean, I will finish it, because I know I can finish it now. Okay, that's enough. Bye.